Namaskar. Today we're going to do some web clips concerning feedback that came through from the forum. Lucy had a question and a few other people had raised some concerns about how to work with someone who is over 70 years old and who is able to get up and down off the floor, but who's having a little problem with their back. They've got kind of a hunch in the upper, sounds like the upper thoracic area. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a peek at those three poses that were mentioned. The first one we're going to take a look at is Vajarasana, which is also called Thunderbolt pose. Now, Thunderbolt pose, I'm going to ask you to come around sideways. And Thunderbolt pose is actually commonly seen this way. Okay, now the point being we're trying to get the spine as straight as possible. Now what I'm going to say is if somebody has a hunch, I'm going to kind of exaggerate here and say that they're going forward, okay? And they're probably going forward through no fault of their own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out a few different types of props, which I'm surrounded by, and I'm going to go to a homemade bolster which contains 2 blocks inside of it. And this one, what I've done is I've got this bolster, 2 foam blocks inside, and then I've wrapped it up inside 1 Mexican blanket. I'm going to take it here and you set it up, and now come around to my spine and see where it is. And this is an ideal situation for a lot of people. I've got a little bit more than a block's thickness here, and just so you can see it a little bit more from the back end right here, this is how much room I have. I'm going to take this block out so you can see a little bit better. And what I want you to be aware of is that that starts to straighten everything out. Now, also, there's another thing about physical alignments. You could come around to the side, put your leg flush up against their spine, and start to draw them back by their shoulders gently. There are a lot of things that happen to us as we age, and it's going to happen to many of us. Some of us will be straight perfectly all our lives, and some of it is genetics. So, I want to give you some options here. Let's say somebody really has a spine that's really has a lot of problems and they can't get it so straight, and also their knees bother them at the same time. What I'm going to do next is show you another variation where we already have the bolster. This is a very economic variation of a bolster here. 2 blocks in the Mexican blanket is a lot cheaper than an actual bolster, which are usually bolsters even now in this economy still run quite a bit of money. So what we're going to do here is I've made an extra, it almost starts to resemble a saddle at a certain point, with an extra cushion, and we have something for somebody a little higher. These type of blankets, we specifically use these type of blankets, the Velcro blankets, because they have a little more give than the Mexican blankets. We use 3 different types of blankets. We use the Velcro type, we use the Mexican blankets, and we use these are from India. And these are a lot thicker, and a lot of times we use them for wedging. Each type of blanket, as you start to use your props, is going to have a different use, especially if you have something that's Velcro has a lot of give, so there's a lot of, you're allowing gravity to help settle someone in. And then if you're using something very firm, well, this will be on our next video, which will be about Sukhasana. So this would be to use to shore up in the back underneath toward the sit bones. But in this case, this is the one we have. Also, some of you may want to use something like this. Over here, I've rolled up a mat, and people will ask sometimes, they have mats that have been around the studio for a long time. And they'll say, you know, I have this mat, and it's really, I don't know why I ever got it, but, and I won't even mention the brand name. And the thing is, now what happens is over time, you say to yourself, what can I use that for? There are a lot of usages. I never throw out yoga mats because you can always use them for something. Somebody can almost touch the floor, for example, that might be just enough. I don't really think so in this case with this particular woman. So I'm going to say something like this. Maybe she has an exceptional set of knees that don't give her any problems. I'm not even going to go there with that one. What I'm going to do is go here, and what we've done is this variation here. So this is much lower than what I showed. And to be quite honest with you, I like the first variation a lot more. Lastly, about Vajarasana and how to make these things. We're going to take a look at the inside of this one, which most of you have seen purple blocks, okay? So you have purple blocks, I'm sorry, blue. So we have blue ones, and this is a lower, the one I was using was a lower bolster than this one. And why do I say that? This thicker bolster, it's just a slight difference, but a slight difference, and then coiling over it and over it. You have two different types of bolsters, and it's relatively, if you stop and think about it, relatively inexpensive in comparison to going out and buying a bolster for each student. With all that said, I want to wish you all a great week. Om Shanti.